Hey there, my name is Bren Vanderswag, and I'm the president of Gutter-Experts.com and the founder of Gutter-Con, which is being held in Orlando, Florida, February 10th to 12th at the Gaylord Palms Resort and Convention Center. I love to chat with people in the gutter industry, suppliers, inventors, manufacturers, and gutter guys and gals just like you and me. I enjoy finding out how they got into the business, where they came from, and what their businesses are doing in the gutter industry. Please meet my guest for today, Zack Glass of Cambria Seamless Gutters in Portage, Pennsylvania. Zack and his partner, Matt, bought the business just last year, 2021. How you doing today, Zack?
Good, Brent. How you doing?
Good. Well, I got a call from you. I think I just got a text from you just last week, and we just kind of started chatting a little bit, and I said, whoa, let's save this. We got to do a gutter conversation interview with you. So tell us a little bit about, I always like to ask where you are, what the weather's like. You're down in Pennsylvania now?
Yep. And it's actually warm here today. It's like 40 degrees. So that's warm for this time of year.
I think the whole East Coast is warm right now. It's crazy warm here too. It's I think it's 12 degrees Celsius way up here on the I'm up in Halifax, Nova Scotia, which, you know, we're quite a bit north from you, but that's pretty warm. I would say that's about the same temperature. Zero. Yeah. I'm looking outside right now. Zero snow. We have nothing.
Yeah. No, we had snow up to a couple days ago, but it just all kind of melted off. This morning we did have freezing rain. So
yeah.
I have a plowing business too. So
oh yeah, you run a Boss V blade?
Yep, I got 3 of them.
Yeah, I've had a couple of those over the years too. Love them.
Yeah. I just bought my first stainless one this year. So
oh yeah. Nice. Don't have to worry about the paint chipping off. I had a poly one too when they first came out. They were nice.
Yeah, except whenever they fade and they look pink.
Yeah. Good. So you were in the landscaping business, or still are in the landscaping business. Tell me a little bit about how what you've been doing since high school or university, whatever you're doing.
Yeah, no, I came straight out of high school and I got straight in the construction field.
Yeah.
Probably a couple months after I graduated, I started doing roofing and framing. And
like on your own or as an employee?
No, as an employee.
Yeah.
And I was probably, I don't know, 22 or 23. I've gone through a whole bunch of jobs till then, not because of my lack of work ethic, just because it seemed like everywhere I went, they were laying people off and lack of work, and it was always something, you know what I mean? And
how long ago was this?
Probably 7-8 years ago. I got hired on the railroad.
Oh yeah.
And so that was after a whole bunch of, crappy jobs. And I thought, hey, I'm set. And everybody said, hey, this is a job for a lifetime.
Yep.
And 1 year later, I got laid off from the railroad. I had a brand new truck, a brand new side-by-side, my own place. And I worked there long enough that I couldn't collect state unemployment. And I worked there too long to collect railroad, opposite of what I said, too long to collect state unemployment and not long enough to collect railroad unemployment.
Jeez.
So pretty much just out on my face. So I went and made ends meet there for a while, and they called me back, and I went back for about 2 or 3 years. And
what would you do on the railroad? Like building railroads
just moving. I actually worked at a locomotive shop, so we worked on the locomotives themselves. Oh, cool. And my job was shuffling them around the shop, moving them in and out as they got fixed or were ready to go back out into production.
That sounds like kind of fun.
Yeah,
for a couple of days. For a couple of days.
Yeah, about 98 degrees on them rails. That was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
So, and then in the wintertime, we were outside all day long. Didn't matter. It could be 0 degrees, and they wanted them, they had to move them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I started a little side hustle, and my first business ever was called Z-Rays Power Sports. And in my community of Portage, there was, it got real big there for a while. We had 60, 70 side-by-sides, like out on one weekend.
How big is Portage? Like how many people there?
Oh,
like a town or a city?
It's a town. There's I don't even know what the population here is. It's probably less than 10,000, I would say.
Okay, so small town.
So very small. I graduated with 60 people in my class.
Gotcha.
So everybody had a side by side, and I got to working on my own, and I got pretty good at it,
Yeah.
And then one day somebody asked me, they just said, "Hey, I don't know how to do this. Can you do it for me?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I did it, and they were like, "Hey, I'll give you $300." And I was like, "Oh, okay, sure." You know what I mean? So I took the money, and next thing I know is, "Hey, I heard that you did so and so's side by side. Can you do that to mine?" I was like, "Sure." So next thing I know, I'm at my house and I have 5 or 6 buggies sitting outside,
Waiting to get
and
work
I'm
done on
like,
them.
"Yeah." So I went into business full time. Well, not full time doing it. I was working on a railroad for 8 hours and then coming home and working till the wee hours of the morning on side by sides, and I did that for a while, and then I bought a mower, started cutting grass, just doing whatever I could to make extra money.
When were you
And
doing
then
that? Like in the overnight, like at midnight after you finish working on the buggies?
now I started cutting grass, and whenever the buggy stuff started fading out, I guess. And I kind of just was doing both a little bit here and there. And then I
Mhm,
got to see that there was a lot more money in landscaping.
mhm.
The side by side business was great, but people were just way too particular. Like, you have a lot of hours into figuring out what is wrong with a motor, and people didn't want to pay you for those hours. They didn't
Right.
understand that part of it.
Yeah.
So the troubleshooting is what gets you a lot of hours, and people didn't want to pay for that. So whenever I started cutting grass, that was easy, man. You showed up every week, you cut the grass, and they said, "Here
Yeah.
you go." No arguments, no, you know what I mean, back and
Yeah.
forth. They paid. So I started doing that, and um, sure enough, same exact thing happened. As I got, 6, 7, 8 customers, and I started making what I made at the railroad in 2 weeks in a couple days. So at that point, I heard that the railroad was slowing down again, and they were talking about laying off. And I went into work one day and told everybody, like, "Hey, I'm done. This is going to be my last couple weeks." And I quit, and everybody told me I was crazy and I would never make it, and I'd regret that for the rest of my life. All the old timers in there that
Yeah.
had it good, and they had a retirement and stuff. They were guaranteed that. I wasn't. So, but here we are.
Yeah.
7 years later, we're still kicking, and I wouldn't have changed a thing.
Oh,
I would I would have did it sooner.
yeah, if you would have known. I know it's really hard. I mean, I'm sure there's guys listening to this right now that are, maybe running a gutter truck part-time and, um, cleaning gutters part-time. I mean, it's a nice little part-time gig, but if you really want to own a business, you got to do it full-time. I mean, it's really the only way is to break free of that and go out and do it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm working on trying to. I'm not an author by any means, but I want to try to write a book. I want to call it Now or Never. You know what I mean? Because it's basically what it comes down to is people drag their feet like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I could do it on my own," and then they sit there and "Oh, okay, I'll do it next year. I'll do it next year."
I
Like,
know.
if
Yeah,
you have the business and it's there, just do it, because just do it or you'll never do it. It's
I
now or
know.
never, right?
It's funny you bring that up because that's how it happened with GutterCon for me. I was turning 50 that year, and I was like, man, if I don't do it now, like in 10 years, I'm going to be 60. Like I'm never going to do it. So, yeah, it's a good way to look at things for sure. So you've been
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
landscaping business, landscaping, snow plowing, everything, or that the main two things that you've
Um,
been doing?
no, there was I started out, like I said, I started out cutting grass at first, and
Hmm.
then I had a plow truck. I bought a plow off a guy and just started doing like residential stuff.
Hmm.
And then we have a gas station. It's called Sheets. And I'm sure, I mean, you travel around enough. I don't know if you ever went down the East Coast, but Sheets is a gas station. They have like made to order food. They have
Hmm.
probably 700 stores throughout, down the East Coast, from Pennsylvania to, I want to say, that South Carolina, I believe.
Hmm.
I walked in there one night, and the owner, or one of the workers, was like, "Hey, our snowplowing contract's up soon. Like, you should put in for it." And I'm like, okay. So I ended up putting in for it, and then I got 2 local stores and went from, plowing driveways for 35 bucks a pop to sheets is, $300 or $400 per time.
Oh, yeah.
So we went from making a little bit of money to a lot of money plowing snow real quick.
Yeah.
And
Just with one truck?
Yep, I started out with one truck, and I ended up, buying another one, and things really didn't get good until this last year whenever I partnered up with Matt and kind of put a little bit more structure to our business.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed us to do a lot more.
Okay. So so Matt, what was his last name? You
Sanoski.
Sanoski. Okay.
Yep.
So when did Matt join up with you? And did he just join up on the landscaping business at that time?
No, so he last whatever it was, August of last year, his brother, who I graduated with, called me and said that Matt ran into somebody who was selling their gutter business.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, and he's like, oh, I think he's gonna buy it. And I was like, oh, cool, that sounds interesting, So after me and Michael got done talking, I called up and I called Matt and I was like, hey, are you buying a gutter business? He's like, yeah, why? And I'm like, well, I want in. And he said he has a job in insurance, so full-time job. So he's like, hey, I make good money in the insurance industry. I really don't want to quit until we start making substantial money.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in running it? And I said, well, yeah, I can do that. And and we just sat down a couple times and discussed the options, and
Yeah.
we ended up splitting everything right down the middle. I said, I'll give you half the landscaping business, you give me half the gutter business, and we'll go from there.
Okay. And how's that working out for you?
Great.
Yeah.
Business partners are tough, but it's we make a good team. He does all the paperwork, all the financials, invoicing, taxes, bills, payroll, anything like that he takes care of, and then I run all the infield stuff with our guys and make sure they know where they're going and what they're doing every day, and I bid on all the jobs. So
good. Sounds like a good partnership then.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had some bad ones, but this one's pretty good. Everybody says, shy away from partnerships, but
I think there's a good and bad point, or a good and bad side to both. It just depends on the partners, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, you figure out. He has an MBA in business, so obviously the business side of things comes easy to him with the monies and the financial and stuff like that. And then the work side of things always came easy to me. So
yeah,
the way we do it, it works out pretty well.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about this gutter business that you guys bought. You said it was in business for 25 years.
Yeah, just kind of like a one guy thing. He was in business, like I said, for 25 years. He had a couple helpers for, I think that at one point, he might have 2 or 3 employees at his biggest, but just did it for on the side pretty much. It was full time, but Mark ever sees us, he'll tell you he liked being done by 1 o'clock and he was at home. You know what I mean?
Oh, nice.
So whenever we bought it, his nephew, Matt, which we have 2 Matts. I have a business partner, Matt, and an employee, Matt.
Yeah.
And Matt came with the business. So he worked with Mark for, I think, the last 5 years that he was in business. Like 3 years, during the summers whenever he was off school, and then 2 years full time. So I'll tell you that I knew this much about hanging gutter, nothing at all.
Yeah.
So Matt was the only way that I could do this. He's carried the company.
Nice.
So,
and he's been a good employee by the sounds of it, huh?
Yes. Yeah. He's a great employee.
Yeah.
So now we have we're up to 4 now. So I got 4 full-time guys.
Okay. So what are you running for trucks and gear? 5-inch machine, or do you do anything else?
We have 2 combos. I should have looked at this because I don't remember. We have a KWM. I know that for sure. It's a combo. I think both of them are that. So we have a 5 and 6 inch in both vans. I got 2 gutter trucks.
Okay.
Gutter vans, I guess.
Vans like a cube van, or?
Yeah, like a cube van.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
One's like a box truck. One's more of a cube van, a little smaller.
Okay. Gotcha. So, how busy are you guys? How big of an operation do you run? 4 guys? You're even in the winter, you're running 4 guys?
Yeah. I mean, I try to keep everybody on just for so if we're not hanging, the nice thing about here is if we're not hanging gutter, we're plowing snow, and if we're
Yeah.
not plowing snow, we're hanging gutter.
So you use the same guys to plow snow?
Yep.
Okay, so it keeps
Mhm.
everyone busy all year round. I actually
Yeah.
thought of that, but I used to plow snow for just for myself, my own yard, and I had, some family, and my dad had a private road, and I loved plowing snow, but I always had a brand new truck, and every time I got a brand new truck, I got a brand new plow. So, I never had to fix my gear, never had to fix my truck.
Yeah.
And I thought the same thing. I said, well, we're not hanging gutter when we're um, when it's snowing, so this would be a good option. So one year, actually it was the year of COVID. Like it was, I usually go away in the winter and for a few weeks. So um, that year I didn't, and I thought, well, I think maybe I'll go get a job plowing snow. Just instead of going out and buying the plow and gear to do it and get some contracts, because if I'm away, I'm thinking, okay, who's going to deal with that, right? So I'm so glad I did that, because I will never do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
tough.
was getting called out all the time because guys weren't showing up, and I just wanted to do it for fun. Like the guy was just paying me $25 an hour. I mean, I would have done it for nothing. I just love doing it, but gee, I was
Yeah.
putting in 18-hour shifts. It was nuts.
Yeah. There's been, so up until this year, I mean, last year I had a little bit of help, but I used to do it myself, and then I got to the point where it was a
Too much.
lot.
Yeah.
I've spent, so last year wasn't a bad winter, but the year, 2020, I want to say 2021 was brutal, or 2020 was brutal. I would say that I spent five days, 5 different occurrences. I spent 30 hours plus in the truck without going home.
Wow.
So a lot of my contracts is like, I have those sheet stores which are open 24/7.
Yeah.
And then I have a couple old folks homes, same thing. They have to be open for emergency reasons. So we go around the clock. Like some of these guys have it good where they don't have to be there till 7, 8 in the morning to open
Yeah.
up. Not us. We go all wee hours of the night.
So, I mean, not to talk too much about snow plowing, but I'm sure there's other guys listening to this that are in the business or thinking about it. But are these like contracts that it's a contracted price for the year, or is it all by the hour?
I have both. So none by the hour.
Yeah.
So it's either per season or per push is the way that it works here in Pennsylvania. I don't know about anywhere else, but so like we'll either get a per season price, you know what I mean, 6,000-10,000 bucks, and that's you know what I mean. You don't make, that's what you make. It doesn't matter if it snows 100 times or it don't snow at all.
There's
The
no options in the contract that if we have a
nope,
crazy year. Wow.
nothing.
I guess it could be good
So
though too if it doesn't snow, right?
oh, absolutely. That's what I said. Like I mean, it's gambling, but the way I like to do it is if you have a couple of both, then they kind of offset each other. So,
Yeah.
and if I keep everything in the same general area. So snow plowing, you can't travel too far. So like,
Right.
the next town over, we have a Sheetz, like I told you, a gas station. And then I have a post office, which is a seasonal contract. So the way I look at it is if it's snowing, we have to be at Sheetz anyways. So to
Yeah.
run up the road real quick and hit the post office real quick, we're not out. We're not
Yeah.
out much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's good to look at it like
So
that. I mean, you got to take the good with the bad a lot of times too, right?
yes, yep.
Yeah.
But it's a very lucrative business, for sure.
Well, that was going to be
It's
my next question. Like, is it good money in it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, big time money. So, and like I said, I mean, the difference between, I guess, gutters and that is, I mean, the snow plowing equipment isn't cheap. I mean, we bought all new last year for one truck, and I want to say that it was close to $20,000 for a salt box and a
Yeah.
snow plow. So, I mean, the equipment's a little bit much, but I mean, it isn't nothing for us to make, 8-10 grand a night during a bad storm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's worth it.
Yeah. Good. So tell me a little bit about this business that you bought that was 25 years old. You already said that he just kind of ran it as a part-time business.
Yeah.
Like he was in the truck, was he, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was kind of doing it, just, I think that you had one interview, and I want to say it was you, but I've been watching a lot, and a lot of people just say, like, you can't run the business and wear the tool belt. You know what I mean?
It's tough.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we did, is we crunched Mark's numbers, and, we said, hey, if he was doing X amount of dollars at this, why can't we scale it?
Yeah.
So that's whenever we went to the drawing board. And like I said, whenever we first came up with this partnership, Matt's like, hey, I don't want to do anything other than office work. And I kind of told him, like, I'm not interested in really hanging gutter too much. I'm not afraid of heights, but I'll tell you that there's been a couple times where we've been up on some high stuff, and I'm like, I climb up there and I hit my couple screws that I can reach, and I climb down and I say, okay, guys, go finish that up.
Yeah.
Because it's not what I want to be doing. You know what I mean? Like, so the way we set it up is, we hired employees. I bid on all the jobs, make sure that they know where they're going every day. Matt takes care of all the logistics, I say, of the business.
So what was he going to do before you came along? He was just going to buy the business and hire a manager?
I would say something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never asked him, honestly. He said for, the price of the business. I mean, it was fairly cheap. I'll say that. It was a good deal.
It wasn't an option to keep him on, or you didn't really need him to stay on?
We did keep Mark on for a while. He stayed with us for a good while there, and he was still bidding on the jobs for us until I kind of figured out how the pricing worked, and just figured out how to make sure I wasn't going to lose my butt on these jobs, because it's very easily done. You know that.
Yeah, when you're talking material and labor, yeah. What about, so are you still running the landscaping business too?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so in the summertime, so I have 4 full-time guys, three mostly hang gutter, and my brother he runs the landscaping stuff in the summertime with 2 high school helpers.
Okay.
And in the wintertime, he kind of just helps us hang gutter and keeps them busy, because there's not much to do other than plow snow,
Yeah. What's the outlook for this year? How do you guys feel down there where you are?
I mean, judging by the way that we did in 2021, I've never advertised, not once. We've done we did like 120 jobs this year. These guys were busy full time, never stopped. So I do have a second truck now. We have both trucks set at, one set at 5-inch, one set at 6-inch right now, because I don't have enough guys to run both.
Yeah.
But that's my goal going into this year, is I'd like to have 2 full-time trucks running, and we're gonna really hit the drawing board with marketing here in the next couple months, and I hope that we can come out, in April screaming.
Nice. Are you planning on do you planning on, do you do any gutter cleaning, or just installs?
So I'll say, like, hey, thanks to you and thanks to the guys that you interview, I'm definitely going to start pushing more gutter cleaning this year, just because of, the way the economy's going and stuff. And I just feel like it's recession proof. I think that you were talking to that guy from Ned Nolan.
Stevens, Nolan,
Yeah. And, just judging off of that, you get 100 clients that clean their gutters 3 or 4 times a year. That's guaranteed revenue, regardless of if you make them big high dollar sales.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just speak for my business. I mean, the problem is, if you don't do gutter cleaning and repairs, how are you going to service your customers? Because there are repairs that need to be done. And what I was always so frustrated about was that I had that gutter truck out. The gutters truck wasn't running any gutters, and there was just guys cleaning gutters. So, just having that, you have to get to that point where you can have a dedicated truck, because it's tough to find someone just to come in for a portion of the year. I mean, if you can keep that service truck, I'll call it a service truck, but gutter cleaning and repair truck, busy doing gutter cleaning, repairs, putting up downspouts and installing gutter protection. I mean, that's really good nowadays. And
Yeah.
just because you put gutter protection on, that doesn't mean that you don't have to go back and maintain that customer's property too, right?
That was another thing that Nolan mentioned that I've never offered that ever. I pretty much tell people, like, and maybe it's lack of experience in the gutter business, but I always told people, like, hey, we'll put this on and you have no worries. But now moving forward, I definitely want to get that one time a year, just come there and make sure that there's not squirrels living in there and whatever else, make sure everything's functioning right.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of struggled with that too. We probably have a customer base. I don't know, I'd have to look, but probably 5,000-6,000 customers over the years. And we could really put a campaign together at a push of a button, just say, hey, we installed your gutters 5 years ago. You should really, we've noticed we haven't been back to check things out before your 5-year workmanship warranty runs out. Why don't we come out and check everything over and then hit them up on a maintenance plan. So I think that's what everyone's talking about nowadays, is maintenance plans. But the thing is with that too, you got to have that full-time crew doing that. And I guess if you have the regular work to keep someone busy, and you put incentives in place for those guys to do the work properly, and maybe a little bit of a bonus structure, they'll be there, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely the way that I'm going this year for sure. Is I'm gonna really we actually just put a marketing plan. Matt emailed me a marketing plan this morning, and that was on there, is try to sell more maintenance contracts.
Yeah.
And we're gonna really hit the Facebook ads hard this year. And there's a guy that I'm gonna put you in contact with, and all he does is gutter cleanings. And I don't know, maybe you heard of him already, but his name's Spencer Clays. I don't know how to say his last name. Spencer Clays.
Yeah.
This kid is, I don't know, 21, 22 years old, and he does this just by himself. And now he's starting to sell how to do it. You know what I mean? Like, how these people are on Instagram now, and he's killing it. And
nice.
I actually paid $100 to call and talk to him.
Oh, and,
by the time we got done with the,
can I send you a bill after today?
Yeah, no. You should. I've gotten a lot of information off of this.
Oh, well, you just paid me right there. Thank you for that. That's why I do it. I love it.
A lot. And it's been, I want to say that you talked to somebody. I don't know how I got in contact with that guy. Somebody that you talked to, I believe I called and talked to him personally and asked him more information. Cool. I don't remember, but I've been networking nonstop. I've been watching these, Tommy stuff. I've been watching his reels nonstop. Like I'm trying to make myself that much smarter this year.
Yeah, he's got a lot of content out there for sure. And actually, I noticed someone posted on one of my comments the other day, just over the weekend. They said, "Oh, you got a garage door guy speaking at the conference. That's a lot of use." And I thought, what, you only take advice from gutter guys? You don't talk to anyone else? Like, this seems kind of crazy.
I mean, all business is business in the end. I mean, it's all this, whatever. It doesn't matter what you're selling. It's still the same grand scheme. You know what I mean? Like,
we all have trucks and employees and offices and admin staff and, sweatshirts and hats. I mean, we're all salespeople just selling our service, right? Well, it's, this networking thing that you talk about. I mean, I always like to bring up Gutter-Con, of course, during these, but I just came from an event last week I was away at, and I met so many new people there. It had nothing to do with gutters. It was wasn't really a convention. It was more of it was called Winter Summit, so it was really all about its coaching group that I'm involved with, and it was really all about strategic planning for 2023, which I've never done any strategic planning. for my business the way I did it this year. And, it's important to do it, and it's really helpful. I sat at a table with two other guys. They were both in the roofing business, but we're all kind of in the same sort of business. We would certainly use the same sort of guys, roofers, gutter guys, right? And,
Yep.
I talked about my plan and they talked about their plan, and we all had good things and bad things to say about each other's plans. And, it was just, the networking aspect was great too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's, you talk about a plan, and we're going back to the whole business partner thing. Is Matt is he's very strict on time and management skills. And like I said, he sent out that marketing plan and he put a due date, on each one. So
Mhm.
we set our goals and we want to make sure that we hit them. And that's what I said. That was my biggest, before Matt came along, that was my biggest thing. I had people chasing me around saying, I owe you money. Like, when can I pay you? And
Yeah.
I'm like, whenever I get a chance to, catch
Yeah.
my breath, I'll be over. So
Yeah.
it's nice to have Matt there to keep me in line and keep a lot. I mean, I'll say that that's the biggest important thing, is having structure to your business. And I didn't
Oh,
realize
sure
that
is.
until I got it,
Especially if you're growing, like, if you're growing, it just means everything multiplies, right?
Yep. Yeah. And I've tried to pitch that at him a couple times, like, hey, let's hire more guys. Let's get another truck. And he's like, not until we nail down exactly how to do this. Once we get this nailed down and we get everything fine oiled running machine, then we'll hire a couple more guys.
Nice.
He said,
Well,
so,
probably good advice.
but yeah, that's, that's the goal for this year. Is we found I found a couple Amish crew last year, and somebody else mentioned it. They're selling gutter for $5-6 a foot installed. So, I mean, you'd be crazy not to use them on some jobs. So,
Yeah,
that's my goal, is to kind
you
of
mean
delegate a
talking
little bit.
subcontracting to them, you mean?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good way to get some extra sales in, like in between. Like you just said that you wanted to hire more guys, and Matt wasn't quite ready for that, but you got a couple extra jobs in a week and you want to put a subcontractor on it. It's good for the subcontractor and it's good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're happy. That's what they're selling it for. So, I mean, they don't know any different, I guess you could say, but I mean, as
So
long as everybody's happy.
are these guys, these Amish crews that you're talking about, do they only subcontract or do they do their own work also?
He does. I mean, he does his own work. These guys actually put an addition on my house this year, and he told me that he ordered a brand new gutter machine. And as
Okay.
soon as he said that, I'm like, "Well, what are your intentions?" And he's like, "Well, I'm going to hang gutter." He's like, "We get a lot of people that ask," and I mean, my thought right away was, he said $5 or $6 a foot that day, and I said, "Well, if I can keep these guys busy enough that I don't have to worry about them going out
Yeah.
and bidding on other jobs, then it's the better way to go, right?"
Yeah. $5-6 a foot though, man. That's
Yeah,
pretty
I mean,
cheap.
you get a lot of different people. I mean, I talked to that guy in Indiana. I said I won't mention any names, but and they were 13, 14, $15 a foot for 5 inch, and I was like, that's, it gets up there. Every market's different, I guess.
Yeah, it sure is. And, it depends on your competition too, but, I think there's different levels. There's McDonald's and then there's, a family restaurant and then there's the steakhouse. I mean, there's different levels and they all have their own, customers that they cater to, right?
Yeah, we're that's one thing here, is I'm very fortunate. I don't have There's a guy here in the same town, and he fell off a ladder a couple years ago. He won't do anything over 2 stories,
Yeah.
and we work very well together. If I run out of downspout or I'm waiting on an order, we just barter back and forth. Like, hey, do you have this? Do you have that? Like, that's kind of like how I am. Even in landscaping, I won't bid on other guys. Like, if they're my friends or somebody I know that mows this account, I won't bid on it. That's just the
Hmm.
way that I've learned to run business. People will stab each other in the back and cut throats, and
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
don't
There's
like that
there's
either.
enough business. There's enough business out there to go around to keep everybody happy.
Yeah, I think that's a good attitude to have in any business for sure. Yeah. So, by the way, is Matt still working for the insurance company and then doing this
Yeah,
part-time? Okay, so this probably
correct.
worked out as a pretty good gig for him too then.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
he's like he does it like in the evenings or on the weekends or
yeah,
whatever, keeps our books straight and stuff.
yeah. And do the calls come into you or come into him?
Yeah, no, they all come to me.
Okay, so do you guys have an office or is he the admin and you're the crew, kind of like the crew leader?
No, I mean, I'm in my office now, and then we have kind of like a warehouse downstairs.
Yeah,
So it's kind of where we keep all of our gutter stuff, and
yeah.
I have an out back here where we park all of our trucks.
Okay, but
So
you
this
don't
is
have
this is
an admin team, like you don't have someone answering the phones in the office.
no, that's
It's
that's
you and
something
Matt
I've
and that's it.
considered. Yep, that's something I've considered for this year. Definitely, especially if we start advertising and stuff, because
Yeah,
from what I've gathered, it can get pretty overwhelming, and that's another thing that I can say as like an owner operator of a business, somebody who tried to do it for years by themselves. Like if I was on the mower and I'm mowing grass and I, shut the mower off every time somebody called me, you just can't get the work done. And then you're like, oh, I'll call them back later. Well, guess what? Later you forget,
yeah,
you scribble it down on a piece of paper, you don't call the person back. They're
yeah.
calling you
They've
five,
moved
six
on.
times.
Yeah,
Exactly. So whenever we did this, we structured it to be completely different. We said like, hey, you answer all the calls, let the guys do all the work. Let's not skip a customer. And I'm not saying that I still don't sometimes, but for the most part, I don't ever miss a call. And I don't have set hours. Like people call me on a Saturday at 7 p.m. and I'm like, hello, this is Zack. And they're like, oh, I thought I was going to get your recording, but I need some gutters. And they're like, I
yeah,
can't believe you answered on a Saturday. Like
yeah,
nobody will even return our phone calls. And I'm like, this
yeah,
is call me anytime. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
that's just the
The
way that I do it.
I find especially with gutter cleaning and repairs and things like that, if you have someone answering the phone, like if you have an admin person answering the phone and that person can he or she book the service right away, like I rarely see that people call and say, oh, we'll call you back. They're just like, oh, you answer the phone, you're going to book my service, like book it, you know?
There might be I don't know how many people get to see this, and everybody might cringe. Okay, but I'll tell you the secret is every single like whenever I first started this, everybody would call me and they'd say, hey, what day can you stop out to look at my house? And I'd be like, well, I'll stop out Thursday or Friday, whatever. And then you book a day and then something happens, you don't make it. So now, as soon as I get a phone call, I instantly go on. We use Jobber as our CRM.
Oh, that was going to be a
So I
question.
instantly go on Job. I instantly go on Jobber and I put in a request and I get all their information and their address. I grab my phone and I go on Google Earth. I type in their address and I'll measure everything while I'm on the phone. Ask them how many downspouts, and I'll just tell them like, hey, you're looking at 2,500 to $3,000 without me looking at it.
Mhm.
And if they say, yeah, that's great, like we're good with that, then I'll be like, okay, I'll come out tomorrow and I'll double check everything and make sure. But
Mhm.
I've closed 80% more sales now since I started doing that. People don't want to wait. If you say, hey, I'll get back to you at the end of the week, they're
Mhm.
hanging up the phone and calling another gutter company.
Yeah, there's a chance of that. I mean, we started doing that too. If we get I wouldn't let any of my staff do that, but I have an estimator. So myself or my estimator, if you called me today and I'm sitting here in front of my computer, I'd go on Google Street View, Google Earth, whatever, and at least take a look and see it. Um, and like I said, I probably wouldn't do it like you. I probably wouldn't give a quote right then and there. But if I felt that I could do it, I'd just say, look, I'll get your information. You'll have an estimate within the next 15 minutes. And that's what I do. I'll just do it
Yeah.
right then and there. And, you win and lose some. We lost one just the other day. I shouldn't say we lost. We just, what happened was Google Earth, they put an addition on their house. And we got there and, we were short on our estimate, but, we just, apologized and uh, luckily the customer was okay with it, I mean, they
and
probably
a
were a
lot
little
of
bit
times,
frustrated, but for the
yeah,
most part, I would say 9 times out of 10, maybe not that much. 8 times out of 10, like we're within feet. So the advantage we have is we don't have to go out there. The customer's not waiting. I mean, you can look at the good and the bad sides of it, right?
yeah, that's what I said. I mean, I might make a lot of people cringe, and people might say like, "That's crazy," but knock on wood, I've never been that off. And in this times that I am a little bit off, like a couple $100 either way,
Yeah, you take the
then
good with the
you
bad.
know,
Yeah,
yeah, it's not. I've never had anybody like say like I'm like, "Hey, we were off 30 feet or whatever," and they're like, put it on there, no big deal. As long as you're nice and the guys did good work, then a lot of times they don't care.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you're certainly going to have customers that just will not. And I've had that before, but that's few and far between. I think most customers are
I
pretty
just
good.
I think that the way that I mean, as much as fuel is and time
Yeah,
nowadays, like I had way too many people like where they call me and they say, "Hey, I'm interested in getting gutters." You drive 40 minutes one way, so there's an hour gone. You talk for 30 to 40 minutes on
yeah.
looking at the job and selling the job, and then you say, "Hey, it's $1,500," and they,
And you
"Oh
don't even get
my,
it.
like I can't afford that." And I'm like, "Well, I'm out 3 hours now. Where
Yeah,
I would rather give a ballpark on the phone,
yeah,
get at least know that they're okay with the general price." And I'm not telling, like I tell everybody, until I look at it, that's not the price, but this is pretty close. And then, like I said, I go out and firm it up, and it's working out great for me. I'll be honest.
yeah. Well, good. You just got to be careful with it. And I guess one thing we don't do, which would be very easy to do, is just when you send out the quote, just say on the bottom, this, measurements may be different. Just click here to agree that you're going to pay for what we actually install. If we quote
Yeah,
40 feet and it's 41 feet, you're gonna pay for that 41 feet. So,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
cool.
No, I don't do that. I should do that. So maybe I'll
I
put that
don't
on the
do it
bottom of my
either,
quote.
so I don't feel
But
bad. So you always used Jobber even before you were in the gutter business?
no, no,
Okay.
we just kind of got so overwhelming. We started out with a spreadsheet and kind of like we just put people in there as we went down, and then like
Yeah.
whenever they were done, we'd mark them green, and then we'd move them to a different, completed spreadsheet. And
Yeah. So Mark never
we
had anything in place,
Mark's system was rough,
was it?
so he just went off of the old piece of paper with the square house diagram, kind of just drawing the picture. And so whenever I
Just
bought
let
the business,
just like
yeah,
that, right?
yeah, yep.
Sign
So
here.
whenever I bought the business, Mark's like, he came up to meet us and he
Yeah.
handed me like a stack like this, and he's like, "These are the people that I wasn't able to get to."
Oh shit.
And I was like, "Oh shit!" So
Yeah.
instantly went back to the office and I started calling, and I mean, there was ones in there that they're like, we called like 2 years ago, and I'm like, "Oh well, my apologies,"
Did you get much work out of it?
Um, I would say 10 to 15 jobs, something
Yeah.
like that.
At least you
So I
call
mean,
back.
yeah, that's what a lot of people appreciated that,
Yeah.
and it goes a long way. I mean, I'll be answer the phone. Like if you're a
Yeah.
contractor out there and you're watching this, just answer the phone.
Yeah.
People, it goes a long way.
Sure
Nobody,
does.
you can call. I had a contractor ask us to do a job that's like 2.5 hours away, right? That's how bad it is around here. Like they called us and they're like, "Hey, we'll pay you mileage, your time, whatever it costs to send those guys out there to do." And all it was is recalking like 6 corners or something.
Oh wow.
So um, so I was like, I'll be smart. I'll call the city or town wherever it's at, and I'll sub it to somebody, and I'll make a couple $100 off this. I called seven different gutter companies, and not one person returned my phone call
Yeah.
or answered the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Answering the phone is the key, and it really is. It's one of the most important things you can do in your business. That administrative task, answering the phone, being polite, booking the sale right then and there, or booking the estimate. I mean, it's absolutely critical, I think. I mean, it saves you the time too as an owner. Like if you have someone there that can do all of that stuff, if someone's just answering the phone and taking a message and you got to call them back anyway, well, you might as well have just taken the phone call, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just
You'll
like
get,
have a good voicemail and let it go to voicemail and just get
yeah,
the information later.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, you'll get to a point where you won't be able to answer the phones like you do. That's for sure as you get busier.
Yeah, yeah, I think that we're on the brink of it. So
Yeah.
it's coming. I don't know exactly when the time is to pull the trigger. And that's another big thing is actually like what I called a gutter guy from Indiana, and I'm pretty sure he's on this page. Like I said, I won't mention his name, but I was asking him like when's the time that you add a salesman? Like I am the salesman right now, but there's days where I got too much other stuff trying to coordinate the crews and order material and do all that. Like when do you pull the trigger on a salesman? And that's like the big question is that's what something I want to bring in, and then also the like you said somebody to answer the phone whenever those sales start rolling in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're both key roles, and I guess you just have to make the decision for yourself. If you can get that administrative person and keep doing the estimates until you grow out of that too. So
Now is that you have somebody who answers the phone?
yeah, I do. I have a full, not this time of year. I have someone answering the phone right now. In fact, I just got a couple calls since we've been on this call. It didn't ring all day. Then as soon as I'm busy doing something, it rings.
Yeah, how it
So
works.
what we do, and actually Gutter-Experts.com, that's one of the things that company does is we provide administrative services to small gutter companies. So we really haven't been pushing that too much, but I think there's a lot of smaller gutter companies that may even be a size like yourself or smaller where they can answer most of the phones. Maybe it's just a matter of getting an answering service to answer it when you can't do it. It might just be a time for the next year or two that you just instead of having a full-time admin person, engage with a company that does that sort of thing. And there's lots of those companies around doing that nowadays. So
Yeah,
but to answer your question, we have a full-time admin person. We do just under $1 million a year, so we're not a big company either. And we have a full-time person, probably 6 to 8 months out of the year, and then we have a couple part-time staff that if my admin person can't take the call, it goes to them, and they just they work from home. They have other jobs that they can work from home, and they just pick up my phone. They just stop doing what they were doing. They pick up my call. We just, pay them by the minute. Basically, we pay them, to be on call. So even if they don't have a phone call this week, they still get something. And
yeah,
then while they are on the call, if they work, 20 minutes on the phone this week, we just pay them by the minute. So.
that's awesome. You say that Gutter Experts actually you guys offer that through that?
Yeah, that's a business that we've been working on the last couple of years, but that's the main point of Gutter-Experts.com is that to provide administrative services. So I have to admit that was one of the things that I was really going to kind of get going this year, but just it's on the back burner right now.
Yeah,
Gutter-Con's been my main focus this past year and a half or so.
yeah. Well, that's awesome. Like looking out for the rest of us.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
yeah.
Like I said, whenever I came across your page, I started going down through and listening to the interviews, and I'm just like, man, it's an open book. I mean, watch as much as you want, learn as much as you want.
Yeah, it's yeah, and I love doing it too. There's a lot of interesting people out there, and it's funny, at GutterCon last year, um, you know, my son who works in the business, he says, "Man, like people are talking about gutters at breakfast and all during the conference all day and at happy hour. Geez, even at night they're talking about it." And he laughs
Yeah,
because when you it's not really like work if you like it, right? So I love
yeah,
talking about business in general, but it's always nice to be talking to some. We all have the same issues that we're dealing with, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's before this gutter business. I tell you it's the craziest thing because I've never even looked or paid attention to a gutter, never paid attention to how it's on there, and then now it's like you can't drive by somebody's house without critiquing something, or,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
like
I
saying
did
like,
that
oh man,
job. Oh, I did that job.
yeah, yeah. Or like, hey, those need cleaned. Or we just
Yeah.
drove by a whole bunch of townhouses today, and I'm like, man, there's like 10, 12 townhouses, and they were all stacked full of leaves. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a good ticket there, you know?
Yeah.
So it's but yeah, business in general. I mean, I love being an entrepreneur, and I love selling my products. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
And
Listen,
we took Mark's business from, we've times 100%. So we did like, he
doubled it.
did 40 to 50,000, and we did 500 our first year.
Oh, 10 times then, not
Yes,
100%.
10 times.
10
10
times.
times.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
So,
that was
and
a
now
part-time
my
gig for him. That wasn't a big business, that's for sure.
correct. Yep.
Yeah.
And then like my goal this year is to do $1 million in gross sales. So,
Oh, yeah. Good.
and a lot of these guys you talk to, they say set the goal and say it out loud, and that's,
Yeah.
I'm here right now doing that. So
Yeah. Well, I'll call.
we'll talk this
What's
time next year.
Yeah, January next year. Listen, I'm not going to put you on the spot, but are you going to make it down this year or not this year?
Probably not this year. No.
Your hunting gets in the way.
It's just, this was already a set plan thing. I leave for Alabama tomorrow, and
Yeah.
I don't come back till Sunday, and then I have a 3-month-old daughter at home,
Yeah.
and I'm fretting being away just for these couple days on this hunt. So I don't know how many more days I could be away from her. You know,
Yeah. No, I get it.
it's tough.
I get it. Well,
So,
we're going
but
to count on you for next year. I'm going to hold you
next
to
year
that
I'm in
million. Yeah.
100%.
What about your hunting? Before I let you go, when we were talking last week, you said hunting is your life. It's the main reason why you work, so that you can go hunting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was another thing, is the reason why I went into business for myself. And landscaping in particular is mostly, you know what I mean? You bust your ass all summer, and then in the fall, a lot of people do leaf cleanups, but I always just kind of, I guess, slack in that department. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, yeah, I mowed your grass all summer. You're on your own for the leaves. I'm going hunting.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's kind of, I miss a lot of money that way. But you know, I got into hunting whenever I was real young, and now this year here, like I got, I don't know, 17,000 followers on Instagram. I got
Yeah.
most of my stuff's paid for. Like I get a free bow every year. My camo's free. My arrows are free. Like, so I was on TV for 2 years, but then that didn't really pan out really well. It wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. So
What do you
I kind
mean?
of
You
just
had a
stick.
TV show?
I was on a TV show, hunting TV show, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, but it was too many politics. You know, say this, don't say this, wear
Oh,
this,
okay.
don't wear this. I like being myself. So on Instagram, I can mess around and joke and have fun and be myself and enjoy what I love doing. You know.
Yeah, cool. And
So, but what
why don't you tell for those who are interested, what's your Instagram account?
Z Glass 19.
Z
So
Z as in Zack and Glass,
yep,
GLASS, your last name, 19.
yep, yep.
Okay, I'll check it out. I'm
Yeah,
not a big
and then
Instagram person, but
listen, and then I've ever since watching Spencer stuff. I mean, I kind of you'll see I put kind of like business coach on there kind of stuff too.
yeah,
So anybody has any questions or anything, I mean, if anybody's dragging their feet about going into business, or you know, wondering if they should do it or not, I'll be the first to tell you. You
do it.
know, like I
Don't
said,
wait.
now or never. Now or never. I mean, and if it don't work out, you go back
Yeah,
and
you
find
just go
another
back and
job.
get a job. Yeah, exactly.
So what do you
Yeah.
have to lose?
It's pretty hard to go back to a job once you've been on your own, though. I'll say that. Well, I've never gone to get a job, but I can't imagine it.
Yeah, yeah. No, you know, you have a bad day and you're like, hey, I'm gonna wake up and start my day at 9 or 10. You
Yeah,
wake up and you start at 9 or 10. You know, I
yeah,
got a good group of guys that'll still be here at 7 and make sure that they're out there doing their job. So
yeah, cool.
that's the ticket.
Yeah. Okay, well, listen, it was awesome speaking with you, Zack, and I'm glad you reached out last week, and glad we were able to get on this. It seems like the last little bit I've been doing a lot of interviews with suppliers and people about products. So nice to chat with another gutter guy like yourself and talk about the gutter business. Really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, no problem, Brennan. Like I said, ever since I started watching this, I was like, man, I'd love to do an interview, and here we are. So,
well, I'm going to say
be...
this: anyone who's listening, I'm always looking for content to chat with someone. So just hit me up, and we'll make it happen. It wasn't too hard to do. It was rearranging a couple meetings to fit our schedules, but it all came together, huh?
Yeah, trying to squeeze everything into this week here because I leave tomorrow for Alabama. So I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off.
Yeah. So what are you hunting in Alabama?
Whitetail.
Whitetail?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I hunt, whitetail and turkeys. So
yeah. And you said you won a trip.
Yeah, it was on Instagram, and any big hunters out there, there's a YouTube channel. It's called Seek One, and they're pretty much the biggest in the industry, and they're only on YouTube exclusively. So they actually are going on this hunt with me.
Okay.
So it's kind of cool. Like, I've been watching their stuff for years now, and I'm a big fan. So I get to hang out with those guys for the next, till Sunday.
Yeah, we'll have fun.
Exciting. Well, thank you, Brendan. Like I said, next year, count me in for Orlando.
Yep, I'm going to send you the bill for the tickets right now, and you can book it for next year, 2024.
Absolutely. Now, okay. Is there something that someone said there's like a virtual?
Yeah, there's going to be a virtual. We haven't really started promoting that yet, but there definitely will be. We'll get that out. I'm actually going to put that. I started a list because there's a couple of people that have asked me too, so I'll put your name on that list.
Yeah.
So
yeah, put it on her.
So the way it worked last year, we did the virtual. I think there was 9 people that did it virtually, so it wasn't a lot of people, but the virtual is all live, and the sessions are recorded also. So if you can't make it live, then it all comes through on this app that we have. So yeah, it's if you can't make it, I mean, we would always encourage people to come to the event, because I just think being there is the best, but we all can't make it. I get it. So that virtual ticket will be an option. We'll probably have that up probably next week. So I'll definitely reach out and let you know. Well, good luck on your hunt. And again, thanks a lot. And we'll be chatting sometime soon.
Sounds good, Brent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.